And live. Yeah, I'm live. How you doing? Oh, here we are. We're live. And it's a nice sunny morning as you can see. Here. Yeah. Uh yeah, nice sunny. Cold. It's like I think it's upper 30s right now. Like 36, 37, somewhere around there. I could check the weather, but I won't. Um but I did look at the weather late earlier and we're going to be stuck in the 40s, low 40s. We're going to get one day of upper 30s. And next week at this, right about this time, next Sunday and Monday, we're actually supposed to hit 50 again. But that's it. The temperatures are dropping. So, we're done. We're done for here. Yeah, winter's coming. Winter is coming. It's just like Game of Thrones without the drunkenness, murder, and sex. At least not on this end. Yeah. And we can actually move about. There's the snow. Yeah. Most of the snow is gone. We still have some lingering snow here and there, but most of the snow is gone. And if you were watching the news or if you lived anywhere from like the northern Midwest, from like Lake Michigan east, all the way out to the East Coast, northern East Coast, you'll know we got hit Thursday. We got hit pretty good. I don't know how much snow we got here. I'm going to say like a couple of inches, but that wasn't the problem. Yeah, I mean, Wednesday night I was out, and here in Pennsylvania, especially around Harrisburg, they have these massive electronic billboards on the sides of the interstates where they can flash messages. And there's even like when you're going between here and Lancaster, there's a couple of those same boards on Pennsylvania 283, which is the main four-way route between Harrisburg and Lancaster. Lancaster. Yeah, I'm getting to the point where I can actually say it now. Lancaster. Probably saying it wrong. Anyway, so they had all these, when I was out, it was like winter storm warning, winter storm advisory Thursday a.m., winter storm advisory Thursday a.m. And there was even some concern we might get snow starting late Wednesday night, but we didn't. When I woke up Thursday, I was joking about the fact that there was no snow up there. I was like, where's the snow? We were promised snow. It's like Marvin the Martian. Where's the snow? We were promised snow. I want to see snow. Where's the kaboom? I was promised a shuddering kaboom. I can actually do that pretty well. Yeah. So like around about 11 o'clock or so, it starts snowing here. And it snowed. It actually snowed for a good, I'd say until about 6, maybe 7 p.m., right around that time. And then it stopped. By that time, the damage was done. Because PennDOT here, PennDOT is our Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, PennDOT. And they're responsible for plowing roads. When the fuck do they plow roads? That's what I want to know. Seriously. I mean, I have been out here since 2013. And every time it has snowed, there's not a plow to be seen. I swear to God. It's like, where the hell do you park your trucks? What are you doing? I like to compare this area to how we do it in the Midwest, because the minute snow would have started hitting the ground, first they would have been out there salting the roads, which apparently some people said there were trucks out salting, but they didn't have their plows down. So they were just letting the snow accumulate on the ground. So they were salting, which really, it doesn't do a hell of a lot. I guess what they were trying to do was avoid the ice, because they were getting reports to the west of us, and I heard this from friends, they were getting ice on the road. But, I mean, they weren't plowing the highways. I'm looking down on 2nd Avenue here, and it's just fucked up. It's just covered in slush and snow, and they weren't doing anything to clear it. I never once saw a plow come down. And the problem is, if you wait too long and the traffic just starts getting snarled, it doesn't do any good. And so, like around 4:30 or so, 83 was, which I can see from my balcony. I can see the bridge going over the Susquehanna. It was completely gridlocked. I mean, seriously, there was no cars moving in either direction. They were just like sitting there, just inching. Basically, I was hearing horror stories about how it was taking people 2 hours to drive 5 miles. Really. And not even, it was just like insane. It was just this insane fuck up. And apparently it was everywhere. No roads were really being mismanaged badly. And but here, yeah, it's like nobody was doing shit. And I've always said that about PennDOT, is they seem to have the worst response to snowstorms. They really do. It's like they're waiting for all the snow to fall before they go out and plow. The problem was, you had like 4 hours accumulation before all the businesses, I guess they started letting places out at like 2 or 3 o'clock. But by that time, you've already had like 3 hours of accumulation on the highways. And it was fucked up. Somebody posted, or one of my friends actually posted one of those surprise, there's the new meme going around of Pikachu looking surprised like, and it said Monday, it's going to snow, news reports it's going to snow. Tuesday, news reports it's going to snow. Wednesday, news reports it's going to snow. Thursday, it snows. And then PennDOT is like, has the surprise Pikachu face like, oh, it's snowing. How are we supposed to know? Seriously, you couldn't do this shit even in Northwest Indiana, where I used to live. The plows were on the fucking road. I mean, the first snowflakes were starting to fall, and the trucks were out salting the roads. And then the moment you started getting any sort of, little bit of accumulation, they had the plows down. They were clearing the highways. I mean, this shit just does not fly. The only times they've not been able to keep up is when you have an instance where, you literally have a blizzard come in. And I knew a guy who used to work for the Indiana Department of Transportation. And he said that one time during a heavy snowstorm, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, they pulled all their plows off the secondary roads to keep the toll road clear. They said, no matter what, we're going to keep the toll road clear. So he said for about 2 hours, they had like literally every snowplow within like 5 counties keeping the toll road clear. And then they put them back on the secondary roads, to help clear them off as best they could. But yeah, he said it was always like they would call in even guys who were part-time and say, I got a truck for you. Come out here and get in it. We didn't fuck around. I mean, from what I saw on Thursday, if that had been Chicago, they would have hunted down the people who manage the Department of Transportation in Illinois and dragged them out of their offices and beat them. I mean, seriously, there's just no getting around that. We've had, I mean, just if he's still alive, I don't think he is, but just ask Michael Blandick, former mayor of Chicago, what happens when you don't clear the fucking roads. He lost the goddamn election over it. Yeah. When we had the winter of 79, during the winter of 79, February, we had 19 inches of snow drop on us. And it took for like a day and a half, we were all snowed in. That's it. We had 19 inches of snow. And in the country, we were able to get moving within a day and a half. In the country. it took, when we had 15 inches of snow drop here in Harrisburg, it took like 2 days to get shit back to normal. I mean, really, in the city. Now I get it. Yeah, they were actually like, you have to haul the snow away in trucks, but still, it was like during the snowstorm itself, I was out walking around in a goddamn snowstorm. There was nobody on the road. There were no snow removal trucks on the road. Yeah, it was a clusterfuck. PennDOT, you got to get your shit together, man. You really do. I mean, it really is. And especially with all the hills around here. I mean, I was hearing all sorts of stories about how people were having trouble getting up and down hills. And I could even see, because I've got Second Street drops down again under a train viaduct here, right next to my apartment building. And cars were having a problem getting up the incline from under the viaduct to go to the light. I mean, there were guys that were just like spinning tires all the way up, trying to get up there. Yeah, come on, get your shit together. You really do. You need to get your shit together. Seriously, it needs to be done. Man, oh gosh. It was a mess. It really was. But we're moving around now, but that doesn't leave me with much hope that come the next snowstorm, we're not going to be up to our assholes and in an inability to get around. I mean, oh, geez. I have been through several massive snowstorms. I think the worst one was the one we had back in the 60s when we actually had like 2 foot of snow drop on us in a 24-hour period. I think it's still listed as the most snow that has fallen during a storm outside like the Rocky Mountains and shit in a 24-hour period. And we were basically snowed in for like 3 days. That was legit. But that was back in 1967. I mean, there's no excuse for that shit nowadays. There really isn't. Unless, of course, you don't have the money. The biggest problem we'd run into is we'd have so much snow, we'd start running out of salt at like the middle of January. And that has happened in Northwest Indiana, where they were actually having to allocate emergency funds because we were running out of salt. Because they manage, they buy all their salt in like October. And they had it all in place, and it was snowing so much in Northwest Indiana because of lake effect snow, which we get all the time, that by like the end of January they were running out. They were running out of salt. They had to buy more. Yeah, that's happened. I remember that one year we had lake effect snow, and it was like every other day I was out shoveling my driveway. Because every other day we were getting like 1.5 inches of snow, literally, from lake effect. It drove me nuts. It was like, oh, Christ, I got to go out and shovel again. Really, we were every other day. It was like, here's 1 inch, here's 1.5 inches, here's 1 inch, here's 2 inches, here's 1 inch. It's like, please stop. And that actually went on for like about 2.5 weeks. Oh, God, I hated it. Really did. Lake effect snow, not a lot of fun, because your little area of the world is getting snowed under, and you can drive like 15 miles to the east or west, and it's sunshine. Look, it's not snowing. Writing. What? I pulled out an old novel. One that I'd been interested in looking at was Suggestive Amusements, which I wrote back in 2012 when I was living in Indianapolis. Yeah. I wrote that in early 2012, I believe. I'd have to look. I've got the dates and everything as to when stuff was written, but I started looking at it, and parts of it weren't bad. But there were a couple of parts of it, when I wrote that, I was like, it was just cringe-worthingly horrible. It really was. I'm reading this going, Oh my God, I wrote this? Jesus. This is terrible. Yeah, it really was. I'm thinking of editing it, but oh shit. There's a couple of sections that I would have to like totally fucking rewrite. I mean, literally like rewrite because they were cringeworthingly bad. And I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote those. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote those parts. I really don't. Most of the novel is really good. But some of it was just, oh, Cass, what are you writing here? I will admit, I remember the time period when I was writing this. And it wasn't the best time in my life. Like I said, I believe I wrote that early. Not early, but I think it was like in April through June or something of 2012. And I remember having a real hard time writing it. And it was basically because I was going through the pre-transition jitters. Seriously, I was going through that period in my life. It was prior to it was prior to transitioning. It was prior to actually sitting with my therapist for the first time and explaining what the hell was going on with me. And I just, you could see that some of it was coming through in my writing. I mean, my head was in like a really bad place when I was writing this, and it did. It did show up. You could look at the writing and go, "Oh God, Cass, Jesus, what did you do here?" It's horrible. So I'm actually thinking about editing it, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. You know, I say this about all my stuff. I've got all this shit out there that I could self-publish, but it probably won't sell. But I could self-publish it. It's just that, yeah, I look at that and I was like, it's really one of the first ones I've looked at where I was like, ugh, this is really kind of bad. It really is. It's really kind of bad. Man, Jesus, what happened? What happened, Cassie? Well, I wasn't. That's the thing. Wasn't really Cassie at that point. Yeah, my head was fucked up. It really was. And I do remember there was one night when I was working on the novel where I was in such a state of depression that I literally would stare at the screen for like 10, 15 minutes at a time, then write a sentence, and then just like stare again for like another 10 minutes and write another sentence. And I went that whole way that whole night where I was listening to music and just basically tapping out shit. And I think after about 4 hours, I finally wrote like 500 words. It was like the hardest 500 words I have ever written in my life. And I mean, I just literally forced myself to write a few things here and there. It was like a sentence at a time, like every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, I'd get a sentence down. And then finally, toward the end, I got into a rhythm. And I think it was like in the last 40 minutes or so that I actually wrote like 200 words, 250 words. I wrote like half of it in that time. But oh man, yeah, that was that was some tough times. Almost as tough as what I'm going through right now, man. So, but no, nothing new. I haven't got back into the original novel, the last novel. Most of what I've been doing is editing. And I think it's just because at this point, I got so much shit going on in my life. I can't really concentrate on that novel. So I'd like to, but I can't. And I keep saying I want to get back into it, but I really don't know when I'm going to get back into it. Now, I did have a job interview this last week. I had one on Wednesday. And I thought it went pretty good, but I have not heard back from the people yet. They had said they were going to get back in touch with me rather quickly, but with the situation with the weather and everything that's been going on, I don't know. I haven't heard anything from anyone yet. So I'm still keeping my fingers crossed on that one because I felt it went good. And I got the impression from the person I spoke with that they felt good about me. And it's actually at kind of a mental health facility. And I said, well, I don't have a lot of experience in the mental health field. I have had experience from being on the other end. And I'm pretty good at dealing with people. And I understand the shit that people with mental health issues go through. I understand about how you need to take your meds. And I understand about how you need a little bit of structure. And I can offer up good ideas on what to do with people, how to get them out, and get them going. So I'm hoping to hear something soon. I mean, really soon, like way soon. Yesterday, I actually I had to go into one of my groups and basically beg for money. I finally drained my bank account. And some of my friends, they went through my Ko-fi, and they ended up donating a little over $250 to me, which isn't going to be enough to cover rent, but it's going to be enough to get me some food for at least 2 weeks. I can actually, I can do that. But I do have the Ko-fi link on my website. You can see it on the side now. When you're watching this video, you'll see it. And if you do feel like contributing something, I would very much appreciate it. I have one friend who she's actually sent me like a couple of $100 over the last month to help me get by. But this is actually coming up on the first time in my life I don't know if I'm going to make rent. The first time in my life, I don't know if I can cover my living expenses. I don't know if I can cover rent. So if you feel like donating just $3, $5, whatever, I would be most appreciative of it. I do need cover rent, and I do need money for food. And, I'm at the point now where I really don't know what's going to happen. I'm keeping hopeful because it's really all I've got left is hope. So that's why I keep hoping I'm going to hear something from this job. I really do. I was hoping I would have heard something Thursday or Friday. Thursday, I imagine, with the weather being what it was, they just couldn't get to me. And I think the same thing with Friday. I think it's a case of they haven't been able to actually sit down and talk about me. I'm hoping that's the case. So here's keeping my fingers crossed. And I hope you keep your fingers crossed too. And if you can help me out in any way, I would appreciate it. I do my best to entertain you. And I hope this is entertaining. But if you can help me out, I would appreciate it. Please. I really hate begging for money. I do. I usually am not the one who will ask for favors. And I have helped people out when I can. I hate asking for help. But if you can help me, please do. And maybe that'll get me back into writing. I'm really kind of a half-assed goal I got is if I can make it the next May to my next birthday, I can actually start filing for not unemployment. I can actually start filing for Social Security in February. And come May, when I turn 62, I can start collecting. And I think at this point in my life, I would get almost $2,000 a month, which isn't a lot. And by the time you pay taxes on it, I'd end up keeping maybe like $1,700. But trust me, $1,700 a month, I can get by on that at my age. And with half my rent being covered, I can actually get by on that. So, yeah. If you can help, please do. If not, I understand. Everybody out there, there's a lot of people. It's tough out there right now. It didn't help that I had some guy yesterday. There's a business analyst position here for the state on a contract, 6 months to a year. And they actually submitted my contract. And then the guy calls me up last night and he's like saying how shitty my resume is. He's like, it doesn't say anything. The resume I handed over has actually been looked at by other people who said, yeah, this is okay. One of the biggest rants I used to have about my resume is that it was like 4 or 5 pages long. And everybody always told me, no, you need to knock it down to 2 pages because nobody's going to read this. Well, he's basically telling me the opposite now. You need to beef up the parts and go into detail. Here's the thing. Some of the stuff that I did, there isn't a whole hell of a lot of detail you can go into. I don't really know what they want me to put down there unless it's like absolute specifics on what I was working with and what sort of tools I used. Let's just face it, a lot of the stuff that I did, if I had to hunt down data on a computer, I went in and used an SQL and I hunted down data and I analyzed it on my own. I didn't have a lot of fancy third-party software packages that linked into the system where I could pull shit up and take a look. I did it the old-fashioned way, the old-school way. You went out there and you looked at the fucking data. You actually went into the file, did an SQL on the data, and, you drilled down and you found what you were looking for. That's how I did it. I was a little pissed off at this guy because he basically was like, well, we submitted your proposal, but I need to tell them more. He's like, have you gotten the job requirements? I said, yeah, I have the job requirements. He says, like, can you fulfill the job requirements? I want to tell him, say, you already turned my resume in, so obviously you think I can. So, I don't know. I'm probably not going to get that job. At this point, I'm actually applying for administrative, like secretarial work. Really. Administrative work, anything is paying like $14-15 an hour. I'm actually applying for it in the area because it's like, I need money. I really do. So, and he's like, well, the reason you're not getting any job offers is your resume is so vague. And I told him, and I've been told by other headhunters that I had too much information on my resume. And, what you're looking at is actually, it's been parsed down based upon what I've been told by other people. And he's like, well, no, that's not true. You could beef this up a little bit more. You could go to 2.5 pages or 3 pages. And I was like, yeah. And then I do that. And then someone's going to come around and say, you've got too much information. It's a game. It really is a game. They don't want to admit that a lot of times once you're over 60 years old, hell, once you're over 50 years old, companies don't want to look at you anymore. That's really what it comes down to. So keep your fingers crossed that something's going to happen, even though next week is a short week and there's Thanksgiving. Maybe I'll be working by the following Monday. I really hope so. Let's see what happens. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Again, it's like I said, all I've got right now is hope. All I got right now is hope. I don't know what else I can do. But we'll get there. The funny thing is, I should be all depressed and suicidal right now, and I'm not. That's what I don't get. Seriously, I know some of you are probably sitting there thinking, oh my God, Cassidy, don't talk like that. But it is. It's really like a year ago at this time. If I was in a similar situation, you'd have to drag me away from my balcony. And I'm not in that position right now. And I guess it's a good thing. I guess it's me saying, I do realize I've got a shot. There is hope out there. So still working on that. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I want to stay alive now. I still suffer from ideation. I won't lie. I still have ideation from time to time. And it does come up and it gets hard. I've had a couple of crying jags. I had one the other day where basically I was beating myself up, where I was saying, I was trying to convince myself I'm not a bad person because there was an incident that was reported to me that, once again, someone somewhere talked about what a shitty person I am because of something I did. And I was basically beating myself up again, saying, you're not a bad person. You really aren't. Mistakes. And I have. Everybody has. I've made a lot of mistakes. But deep down inside, I don't think I'm a bad person. I had a friend contact me the other night, and she told me that after being married for like almost 25 years, around 25 years, her husband decides he doesn't want to be married to her anymore because basically he's jealous of her success several years to achieve a certain modicum of success in what she's doing. And he's basically belittling her, saying, she's having everything handed to her, which is not the case. I know this woman. She's not the sort of person that just has shit handed to her. And I was like, I don't understand how he could do that to you. I know you. You're a wonderful person. I don't know how he can be that mean to you, and so forth and so on. And she said, I see what you're going through, and I see all the adversity you're facing right now. And yet, you're still so good to me. You're still nice to me. You're still trying to help me. She says, I just want you to know it will get better. She goes, this is a sign that you are a good person. Because even with all the adversity you're facing, you're feeling bad for me. So, I do beat myself up. I do think at times, I have to convince myself I'm not bad. I'm not a bad person. I really am not. Even though sometimes I feel like it because of how there are things I will do. I don't realize I'm doing them. And I try not to do it. But, sometimes shit just slips. And I don't mean to hurt anyone. I don't. My biggest fear is when I'm gone, people are going to think of me as a shitty person. I'm not like that. I'm really shit. I'm really not. And I hope someone realizes once I'm gone, I really was a good person. my best, try to help others. I don't want people to think I was bad, because I'm not. Stop. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. I'm sorry. Stop it. Don't do this. Just stop. See, this is what I go through. This is kind of what it's like having mental illness. Your head just turns on you, just like that. Doesn't take much. You just gotta have hope. I know what it's like to be mentally ill, which is why I'd be a good fit for this job. Because I know what it's like. God, do I know what it's like? Jesus. It's hell. It really is. I don't ever wish anyone to go through the shit I go through. I don't. Anyway, let me talk about something good. Let me talk about something good. Which would be Derby. So I had my tier 1 assessments and I passed. Yeah. I passed my tier 1 assessments, all 3s and 4s. I did have, I believe, one 3.5, maybe 2. I know one. I had one 3.5 that was actually moved up to a 4. I was told. Yeah. So we're through with that. We're done with tier 1, and now we're moving on to tier 2. Tier 2 is tier 1 was learning really the basics. How to skate, how to stop, simple stops, that sort of stuff. How to jump, how to leap, how to plow, how how to stride. Tier 2, now we're getting into how to play. This is blocking, hitting, skating backwards, transition stops, pace lines, pack work. At least I think so. Yeah, we're getting into now the basics of how to play. So hitting is coming. Pace work, pace lines, pack work, it's all coming. Weaving, it's coming. We're all getting ready for it. I'm getting ready for it. Now, I have a bit of an advantage in that I've already done some of this stuff. I have scrimmaged, legitimately scrimmaged. So I really kind of got to watch myself, especially when we get into hitting. Because if they say go at each other at like 50%, my 50% could be a lot different than everybody else's 50%. So yeah, probably what I'll do is I'll just like have a couple of people hit me so I get an idea of where I should be coming from, and then I'll dial it down. I know I'll have to do that because I don't want to hurt anyone. I really don't. I could, and I don't want to. I've taken legitimate skaters off their skates a couple of times. So I don't want to. Yeah, I mean like certified skaters. Players. I don't want to do that to anyone in my talk class. So I will watch and I will be careful when we get to that part, because I do not want to hurt any of my teammates. Because let's face it, we know Derby is a full contact sport. You can get hurt. I've seen people get hurt. I've been hurt. How do you think I got those 2 broken ribs? I didn't fall down a flight of stairs. Let's just put it that way. So anyway, but yeah, past my tier 1s. One of the things that came back in the assessment was I don't use my left leg enough. And I know that. When we were doing like sticky skates, and I still need to get lower for my stride. I'm working on that. And when we're doing like sticky skates, which is basically 8 on the floor, you keep your wheels on the floor and you move your feet back and forth to propel yourself without ever taking your foot off the ground. Yes, we have to learn how to do that, because a lot of times when you're in pack work, that's actually what you're doing. You're keeping your feet on the ground because you can't really like push off because you kick the person next to you. You'll lock skates, and locking skates is not good. So, but one of the things that came back, sticky skates was one of the things I got almost a 4 on, but I was told you're not using your left leg enough. And it is true. I don't use my left leg enough, because when you're skating in derby direction, which is counterclockwise, you're constantly pushing off with your right, especially going through the turns. Distance around the track is 180 feet. It actually works out to 180 and a half feet if you skate the diamond. But there's 18 hash marks normally 10 feet apart in the middle of the track all the way around. So that's 180 feet. So going through the turns, you're actually spending about 100 to 110 feet of that 180 feet pushing off hard with your right leg to get around the turn. So yes, my right leg gets used more than my left. And I agree with that. I said, okay, yeah, I get it. Because at my last league, we didn't do a lot of anti-derby or clockwise direction skating. They do at DDR. They do that. They will skate in anti-derby direction or clockwise skating so that your left leg gets developed as well. And one of the things I noticed the other night after Wednesday practice was that my left thigh is actually slightly more developed than my right. I take that back. My right thigh is actually slightly more developed than my left thigh. It really is. I was laying in the tub looking at my thighs, and I could see that my right thigh is just slightly larger than my left. It wouldn't be something that you would probably notice if I was standing, but I was able to just like put them together, and I was looking at them. So I need to do like a bit more skating in the opposite direction to work on pushing off with that left leg, and that will get me stronger. But yeah, practice the other night, we also did a 27.5. The way we do a 27.5 is probably a little different. It's a little different than what I've done before. But basically, it's 5 minutes of time skating. And the thing I did this time that I've never done before. Yeah, never done it before. I've stated that the last probably like 3 or 4 times we've skated 5 minutes, my average is up around 25 laps. I mean, like I'm just crossing and recording my 25th lap right around the time they blow it dead. And with other people on the track, which meant there were a couple of instances where I got held up. In fact, there was one time I really got held up because there was all these people on the track in front of me, and I basically had to slow way up, and I actually went around them off the track to get around them. I actually did that like 3 times, and then skated around them on the outside to clear the pack, which holds you up quite a lot. You may not know it, but you're losing 3 or 4 seconds here, 3 or 4 seconds there. That's a lap. But the thing I did that I'd never done before is I skated over 25 and a half laps. It actually worked out when I figured out where I had fallen. I had actually skated 100 feet beyond where I started, because I figured out where the hash marks are, and I started on a jammer line, and I was past the point where the other jammer line, if we had a jammer line on the other side of the track, would have been. And I was 10 feet beyond that. So I'd skated 100 feet past where I had started. And that works out to 25.56 laps. Yeah. And so when you work that backwards, it works out to a time of 5:16.9 minutes. 5 minutes, 16.9 seconds for 5 minutes of skating. That's a personal best for me. Just round it up and say it was a 5:17. That's still a personal best for me. And that's a personal best by about 4 seconds. And again, that was with traffic on the track. So, I a couple of times, I had to skate in between. A couple of times I just dove in. I'm getting to the point now where it's I will yell out loud, say, I'm, coming on your inside, and I will just dive in and keep going. But I've been feeling a lot better when I've been doing my time skating. I mean, when they get down to the point where they say, you got a minute left, I actually start pushing myself. And I try not to look at my counter. It usually surprises me when I realize I've already skated 16, 17 laps. And it's oh my God, I'm not noticing it as much as I used to. And I'm actually when they say 5 minutes of skating, I'm okay, this is it, let me push. And the thing I'm pushing for is to improve each time. So when I was hitting this 25 lap stuff, I was saying, okay, next thing I need to do, I need to get to 26. I need to get to 26. And this time I hit 25 and a half. I mean, when I heard 1 minute left to go and I looked at my counter and I was I could get 26 if I really push it. And when I got past 25 and I didn't hear time yet, I was just woo, 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 woo. I was still going. And then I was on the other side of the track when they called time. So that made me feel good. So now my benchmark is to make certain I pass that 25 and a half lap mark every time. That's my benchmark. Before, my benchmark was make sure you get 25 laps, no matter what. Now I'm moving that benchmark to say, make sure you skate hard enough, you get 25 and a half laps every time. With the goal being I need to clear that extra half lap to get past 26. And then once you get past 26, it's okay, let's shoot for 26 and a half. I mean, at this point, I have to make up 17 seconds to get a 27.5. 17 seconds works out to shaving. This is true. It works out to shaving 2/3 of a second off of every lap. That's it. I mean, seriously, it comes down to shaving and it's actually less than that. When I worked it out, it was 0.63 seconds. That's less than 2/3 of a second off each lap. That's all. It is. It really is. Once you get past when you do a 527, if you do a 527.5, if you do a 527 in 5 minutes of skating, that means you need to shave a second off of every lap. And that seems like it's easy. Sometimes it is. Now I'm at the point where I'm shaving less than 2/3 of a second off of every lap. And to me now, it's beginning to seem like, oh, that's really doable. All I got to do is get a lot of clear track. Nowadays, what I'm actually doing is I'm learning I'll just go around on the outside. I mean, I will come off the track and come back in and to get around people. And I think the thing I'm looking at now is I have to learn how to time it so I'm not losing a lot of momentum as I go around. Because that's really where it kills you. When you lose momentum, that adds up. So if you lose like 2 seconds here and you lose a second there and you lose 2 seconds there, gee, that can add up. That could add up to like, I don't know, 17 seconds. But no, and I actually do love skating with other people on the track. I do. I think it actually forces me to skate better. It forces me to skate better because I'll push myself to get around packs, get around little bits of congestion. It also gives you a lot of really good pack awareness because you know where everybody's at. Also, you can look ahead and go, I need to know where that person's going to be as I'm coming into the turn. So if I speed up, I'll get past her before I go into the turn. I won't have to worry about it. It's really good for pack awareness. It's really good to give you an idea of where everything is on the track and how to adjust for it. So, and I also will use people and I'll go, okay, let me go catch that person. I will. I've done that before. It's like, let me go catch that person now. And I'll push myself to catch a person on the track. And that's actually one of the things they talk about if you're having trouble with a 27.5. You get what they call a rabbit. You get a skater who can do a 27.5 without a problem. And you put them in front of you and you chase them. You chase them down. Sometimes it's better than having someone behind you pushing you because they can tell you to speed up. But sometimes that's not so easy to do. I actually like seeing someone in front of me that I can chase because it's a goal. It's like if I can catch that person, then my next goal is to get in front of them. And if they see you coming and they're a faster skater, they can always like marginally, without you realizing it, increase their speed. So you have to do the same to keep up with them. I actually prefer skating with other people on the track. I find that skating in a pack or skating with other people, it does bring out something in you. It makes you want to skate harder. So, and that could be one of the reasons why I've been doing so well on my 5 minutes of time skating at DDR, is because there are other people on the track, and it does give me something to shoot for. It gives me like points. So I have to get by this person before we get to this point on the track, or I have to get around these people, and now's the time to do it. I did catch myself a couple of times like hustling through spots while I was skating because of that. I'd say, okay, I don't want to close this gap. Boom, I'll get through there. If I wait, that gap's going to close and it's going to mess me up. So I got to take off now. So I really do like having 5 minutes of skating, and then it's like, you set goals, you chase, you look for pockets, you look for obstructions to get around. And I think it does make me a better skater. It really does. I like that. I've always felt that I skate better when I'm like able to actually see something and go for it. It's one of the problems I've always had with being out there by yourself is you really have sometimes you have absolutely no idea how fast you're going. You don't. And it plays with your mind. Whereas when there's other people on the track, it gives you an idea. I guess the thing that you can compare it to is if you've ever seen the movie The Aviator, which is an excellent movie and you should watch it. And it was about the early life of Howard Hughes from when he first started in Hollywood up to the time he flew the Spruce Goose. What was it, 1947? Yeah. And when he was filming the movie Hell's Angels, one of the things that he complained about was he's looking at the footage and he says, it doesn't give me any sense of speed. You know, you're seeing the planes moving through the air, but he said there's no sensation of speed. What's wrong? And then he figured it out. The sky behind the planes was completely empty. So there's no visual reference to gauge the planes against. So he said, we really need to fly against clouds, because when you're flying against clouds, then you actually are getting the feeling of how fast the aircraft are going, because there's something behind them that gives you a sense of their motion. Of course, Howard was crazy too. But he was right in this instance. Yes, he was. He was absolutely right. And that's one of the things I always find when I'm skating on a track with other people is that there's a sensation of speed. You do have this sensation of how fast you're going. And you can base it upon the speed of other people on the track. And that does help me skate better. It helps me skate faster. I have noticed that since coming to DDR, my speed is up. It really is. And I'm getting closer to 27.5. I really am. I mean, I know it's coming. And this is, I mean, I've said this before, but this is the first time I really feel like every time I go out on the track, this could be the night. I really feel that now. And it's something I was having trouble feeling before. Now when I go out, I actually look forward to it. You know, it's like 5 minutes of skating. Here we go. This is my chance. This is my chance. You know, this is it. So, like I said, my new benchmark is shoot for 25 and a half laps each time. But what I really want to get is 26. I want to hit that 26 mark. And once you hit the 26 mark, then it's like, okay, from 26, let's move to 26 and a half. And after 26 and a half, there's only one more spot to go. And that's really what I'm shooting for. So, and I will get it. It's coming. I actually had said before, there's a distinct possibility I could do my 27.5 before the end of this month. I still feel that. I still feel I could do 27 laps for the end of this month. Definitely will do it in December. There's no doubt about it. It's going to happen. I feel it. I'm skating better speed-wise than I ever have before. And I think part of it is my form is improving. I am starting to get my crossovers better. I'm starting to learn how to push off at that left leg better. I'm learning to get my butt down better. And that's going to get it. That's going to nail it. So here's, again, keeping my fingers crossed. But I know it's going to happen. I mean, I'm seeing my progression. So it's coming. And 516.9 is now my personal best. I need to improve upon that. Where it's really going to probably be the biggest ego boost is when I hit 26 laps, and then you only have if you hit 26 laps, you're basically 11 seconds off of your time. If 26 laps gets called when you hit, 5 minutes gets called when you hit 26 laps, you're basically about 11 seconds away from your goal. And 11 seconds is nothing. That's like a third of a second per lap. That's really what it comes down to. It can be done. It can be done. And I will do it. Yeah. Okay. Once again, I talked for over an hour. So, God, I'm a wordy bitch. Okay. Well, I feel much better. I feel good. I will get through this weekend. Thanksgiving's coming up. I hope you have a good Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving is on the 22nd, because it's always the fourth Thursday of November. So really the 22nd, this is the earliest we could actually have Thanksgiving. Yeah. So get used to it. Okay. So everybody have a good holiday. Have a good weekend. I will see you next week. I will be here. Yeah, look for me. Take care. Bye.